Okay, so let's just recap where we are so far. So we have a Next.js application, which is deployed to AWS. The server function is running on AWS Lambda, and we also have authentication set up with Cognito. So this is quite a full stack application with a lot of potential to add new features. Although at the moment it's just very simple. We just say hello from TRPC. You can see the logged in user. But essentially, like a lot of the foundation is here now, where you could go ahead and build out quite a lot of business functionality to your app, to whatever application you're trying to build. So I would like to do now is have a look at a couple of use cases of basically let's try and build something cool with the stack, right? So imagine that this is your initial setup, and you're going to add some features for your users. And I think what's important to get across here and to get used to is the idea of like working with your infrastructure as code, which is in SST, and your application, business functionality at the same time. So the idea is that you can, for example, define a S3 bucket in your SST app and then reference it in your next app and upload files to it and this kind of thing, right? And getting used to the idea of like having that in one repository and the advantages that come with that. So some suggestions of things you could do if you want to have a go at this yourself is you could do like an online course registration page. So you can use the CDK SST code to create some DynamoDB tables and then maybe expose an API over API gateway and add users to, add people who log in to a registration page. To do app is always popular, simple like adding to do items. Again, you can do it with like a Dynamo database and actually save it to the backend. Message boards with comments and posts. Something ChatGPT is another idea. Seems quite popular now. So you could, for example, create like a Next.js API, which is going to, I don't know, pass some user input and then do something with it. So using ChatGPT. Or the one I'm going to go with here is like a portal for users to upload and download files because it's quite simple and it's quite inspired from this example, which is already from SST. I'm actually going to show how to do it to start with without really using some of the functionalities from SST with regard to how you can share properties between your IAC SST app and your Next.js app. So I'm going to start by kind of showing the way that I have done this in the past. And then in the next video, we'll look at how this can be changed with how working with SST. I think it's still out for debate whether using SST is always an advantage, and I can let you decide which approach you like more. So to start with, I'll just show how I would have done this in the past, how I've always done it before. So I'm going to implement this ability to upload and download files to our website here so that we can come in here, upload, download files. So I can show here what it is we're going to be building. So just like before, we can sign in. Now we have this new protected area of the application once we're signed in, which allows us to upload files. I can upload a file here. And when I hit upload, a file gets uploaded to S3. That is calling an API to our Next.js API, which is returning a URL, a pre-signed URL, which allows us to upload to S3. And if I come into my S3 console, we can see that the file has been uploaded to S3. I can see it here, the sample image, which is the same file, sample image 1, which was uploaded from the Next.js front end. So to start with, the first thing if you want to be able to do upload and download files is we're going to add a S3 bucket to our Next.js stack. In order to do that, what I'm actually going to do is the first thing, I'm going to install my common package into the Next.js application. So what I mean by that is if I come into my Next app, right, then I can go to, that's the name of the workspace, and I'll just do yarn workspace add, and I'm going to add this common thing, which is where I can basically put the names of certain resources or whatever, and then share them between. That's the whole point of it being common, right? So I can share names, config properties, whatever, between the packages inside my mono repo. So if I run that, and then you can see here that I now have this dependency. And what that is then going to allow me to do is if I go over to my Next.js application, the next app within the SST, then I can now import common utils here. So this is a util package which I made myself, which just has some general utility functions which could be useful to, for example, like give you the name of a bucket, right? So there's some TypeScript mastery, wizardry, whatever you want to call it, going on here to make sure that like the bucket name that I provide is going to be type safe and that kind of stuff. So if I have bucket name here, then I can define all the different buckets that I want to be available. And then when I go and get the name, I can't specify a bucket that doesn't exist, right? So if I wanted to then add more buckets here, and I don't know, call it like just images, right? Then that means that anyone else trying to get using this function for get S3 bucket is also going to have this option here, right? I'll just save that for now, actually. So now if I can use this function, it's just going to give me a type safe way to generate the name of something. And it's going to be based on the bucket name I pass in and also the stage, which is going to be like dev or prod or whatever, okay? So coming into here, using my common utils, I'm now going to also import bucket from so from the SST constructs, right? Of course, if you're using CDK, you can just import bucket from CDK lib as well. Because as I said before, like the SST constructs are just wrappers around the CDK constructs, so you can use either when you're writing SST code. And now I'm going to create my bucket like this. So I can say bucket equals new bucket. The stack is going to be this stack. I have to give it a logical ID, so you can put whatever you want here. Actually, this is going to be used to generate the ID for the resource. And then for the name, this is going to be actual name of the bucket. I'm saying common utils, and then bucket name, and then the stage you also have to pass in here, right? So I can get the app here and then do app.stage. And that's now going to allow me to add the bucket to the stack. So now if I do yarn deploy again, it's going to create a new S3 bucket inside my next app stack. And of course, like if you wanted to put this bucket somewhere else, it's also possible. You could put it in a new stack and call it like, I don't know, shared assets or something, and then import it into next app. You can do what you want. But for now, I'm just going to put it in here. So it's part of the next app stack. So part of the next app stack is going to have the deployed Next.js site and then also this new S3 bucket. Okay, so that's now deployed. And if I go to my CloudFormation, I can see in the stack that this new file uploads bucket has been created. And you can see the physical ID is here, tsj dev file uploads, which is matching the name which we provided here. So it's going to be project name, followed by the stage, followed by the construct name. So you can see how these utility functions are working. The nice thing here then as well is like if I have an enum for each of my buckets, and if I try and reference a bucket which doesn't match that type, then it will tell me that that's not a valid bucket name, right? So now that I have this bucket and it's part of the deployed stack, I'm going to go and actually use it within the Next.js application. So the first thing I'm going to do is copy paste in a component from the actual, the same example I got from here. And this component is just going to be the file upload component, and I'm going to put it in my Next.js components next to this one. So I'm going to create a new file here and call it fileupload.tsx. Okay, so then I'm just going to copy and paste in the code. This code is actually coming from the same SST examples. So it's just a very simple file upload component. It puts a form on the screen. The form has an input, and then the upload button is going to upload the input element target to whatever the upload URL is, and then just immediately redirect to download that file as well. So essentially, like when this is linked up to S3, all it's going to do is upload the file to S3 and then immediately download it again. So now we have this file upload component. Let's go and actually put it in our application. We can put it on the main page. So let's go to page here. Similar to how we have the CRUD showcase, let me just add my upload demo component. And this upload component is only going to be available when the user is logged in. So similar to the CRUD showcase, which was part of the default, part of the T3 stack showcase, we have this upload component, upload demo here, right? And I can add my upload demo component here. And then if I go to my application, which is running on localhost 3000, you can see that when I sign in, I can see my new upload component. So if I actually try to upload a file, nothing's going to happen now because there's no API call to actually go and upload that file. So that's what we're going to do next. Quick note about how Next.js works here. This here is a server-side component. So this one is going to run on the server to work out if you're authenticated. The file upload component, which we've created, has this use client directive at the top, which means that this code is going to be run on the client, which you need because it has stuff that's client-side code, like the onSubmit function and stuff. Doesn't make sense on the server. So now let's go and actually make the create the API call, which is going to allow us to upload files. So what I can do is firstly add some new packages which we're going to need to use to the Next.js project. So if I go to Next.js and go to my dependencies, let me just install the S3 client from the Amazon SDK and also the request S3 request pre-signer. So let's yarn install that. And now I have that, I can go to my posts API. And in here, I already have, this is the API for my Next.js application. And I can create a new route down here, like so. So what this is going to do here is going to be a protected procedure. It's going to create a put object command, and it's going to then return a signed URL, which is going to allow me to upload to S3. So I need to import these things here. So the put command, let me figure out quickly where to import from. is going to come from that package that we just imported. So we can come up here, and I think I just need to reload VS Code so that it can refresh and work out that I've installed this package, which is why it's not doing the auto import. Okay, that seems good now. So the common utils, we can install that just like we did into the SST app. So you can see now that we have that, which means that for the put command, we can give a random key, and then for the bucket, it's going to be the bucket name, right? Ignore this for now. And then for the get signed URL, let's see, can we import that from somewhere? That comes from the pre-signer, right? You just check. So yeah, that's how we're going to get the signed URL from the package we just imported. Now, the next part is we need to figure out what stage we're on, okay? So this Next.js application, as we've seen already using the SST app, you can deploy it in different stages. So for example, if we go to our SST config, we specify here that we're doing dev, but you could also put, for example, prod here, and then it would create a prod stack with all of the same resources on. And the way this is set up is that when we want to get the S3 bucket name, it's going to be formatted like this. So we have tsj dev file uploads. So in order to know which bucket we're referencing here, we need to know which environment we're on. So thankfully, SST already provides that environment URL, and it will put it in the Lambda function, which is running our Next.js application. So if we come into here, this is the Next App Server function. You can see that we actually have this here, this SST stage, right? So that's going to be the name of the stage that we want to get the bucket from. So in order to add that to our environment config in the way that is normally done in T3, what we can do is we can add it to our env.js file, which is this file here, which is similar to what we did in a previous video. And what I can actually do is go on the server configuration. So this is going to be available on the server. And I'm going to say SST stage is equal to an enum. For now, we only have dev, and the default is going to be dev. So if it's not specified already, then it's going to be dev. If the server provides a different one, it's going to be a different one. We also need to then provide that down here. So what we need to do is, for the runtime environment, we just say that the SST stage is equal to process.env.sst stage. By the way, if you're using CDK for this, then I believe CDK will also, if you're not using SST now, I believe CDK will also create some kind of environment parameter called stage. And if it doesn't, you can easily create one yourself anyway. Because remember, like earlier, all of these things here, like the client secret and all this kind of stuff, we were able to specify ourselves when we were setting up the Lambda function like so. So this is the environment that you can specify. So you can put whatever you want in here and it will be provided. So in this way, we can basically say, get me the stage, and then I'll be able to get where the bucket is, okay? So the only other thing we then need to do is actually import the stage from the env like this, okay? So now we have the env, and you can see, now of course, like maybe this is overkill because I believe it would work fine if we just did process.env.sst stage. That would also be fine. And using this syntax, you can basically say, I'm sure that exists, right? But using this way of doing it is slightly nicer because it's type safe, right? So we've specified already that this is definitely going to exist. And then if I come into here and I can see all of the properties that are available for my environment, which I've already configured through this m.js file. If you want to look up more about how this works, you can look at the T3 documentation and specifically this package. So now we have that. We have the bucket name. We have a new API URL, sorry, an API endpoint, which is called getUpload URL. We can now call that from our upload component to get a URL where we can upload a file to S3. So in order to do that, we can just go back to our file upload component, and for the upload URL, we now need to get the URL from this mutation. So we can do, we can import our API from the gRPC React. So actually you see when I import that here, I have two options. I can import from server or from React. So server is if I want to call this on the server side, and then if you import from React, it's going to give you the client side. The stuff, the response here is going to be wrapped up in React query, which is why we have this use mutation. So you can see if I were to import this from the server instead, then I don't have this use mutation. I think it's just going to be like an asynchronous call, which I have to, it will exist, but then this is like an asynchronous call, which I have to call directly, right? Using the import from React, it gives me this use mutation. Use mutation is just like a normal use mutation from React query. If we look at the types that it responds with, for example, we can specify here like is loading and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in how this works, have a look at React query. So we're going to mutate async, which just means that it's going to create an asynchronous call to get the data from this mutation. So now I have this get URL. I can put it here, and I can do await get URL. And that is going to call my get upload URL and get the pass in the bucket name, which we deployed, and get me a pre-signed URL, which I can use to upload a file to that S3 bucket. So now if I come here and I refresh my app, I should be able to select a file and upload it. And then you see it just immediately downloads, right? Now, to see if that actually worked, we can make sure they actually did get uploaded to S3. What I can do is I can have a look at my S3s and look at my, it'll be called TSJ, right? And let's do a search. It seems like it's not been refreshed. Yeah, okay. TSJ dev file uploads. Let me open that up, and we should see now that there is a new file in this bucket. Yes, it's been uploaded, right? And you can see that it's been given that random ID, which we specified in the mutation as well. Now let me try and download this file. And you can see that my sample image here has been downloaded. Perfect. So the next step now would be to deploy this code and make sure that it still works when it's running on the server, because this is all local. So now I have that. I'm going to do build and deploy again. This script here on build deploy. And once that's deployed, I'm going to head over to the deployed CloudFront URL and test it. So I'm going to choose this file here and upload. And actually you can see I get an error. Why do I get an error? Let me do it again, and this time log the network traffic. So take this file and upload. So you can see I have an error here. It's 403 forbidden. And the reason why is because my Next.js server function does not have permission to sign or basically interact with this bucket, right? And we need to give it permission. So the way that you can, this is where SST is very nice. Of course, you can do this in CDK as well. But SST, again, is providing you some nice functionality to bind objects, right? So I have this bind here. It's saying, hey, when you create this Next.js site, can you please give it access to this bucket as well? Otherwise, you would have to do something like, my site dot server function dot role dot attach permission, and then attach the permission that's going to allow it to sign requests to upload and maybe download from this bucket. But doing this way with SST is very nice. We just have this nice interface where we can say, give access to this bucket. I believe there's other stuff you can bind in here, like maybe DynamoDB tables, API, gateway, that kind of stuff, which is just going to automatically attach the policies to the role for this Lambda function, which is going to give access to this bucket. So now I'm going to build and deploy again. Okay, so this is redeployed now, as you can see, and let's go and test again and see if providing access has worked. So let me try and upload my sample image, and here we go, upload, and you can see now it works. And if I go to my bucket here and refresh, then we can see that we have these new, actually I uploaded one before as well, but we can see I have a new file uploaded here. Let me just delete them all and re-upload again, this time coming from the server to show it's working. So I'm going to upload sample image 2 and come in here and look at my objects again, and you can see now I have this object. Let me download it. Here we have the download, and you can see here I have my sample image, which is the same image I have here, sample image 2. Perfect, so that's working now. And you can see that it was very easy to use SST in this sense to grant permission to have permission to upload to this S3 bucket. Okay, perfect. So now SST has granted the Next.js site Lambda function permission to use this S3 bucket, and we are able to upload, download to the bucket. Let's go behind the scenes a bit and see what actually has happened for this to work. So if we go to the CloudFormation, it's a good place to start. We can look at the dev tsj next app, and we can find here the server function, the next app server function. Open that up, and then we can go to the configuration, and underneath permissions, you can see the role which is being attached to this server function. Let's open that up. And then inside here, we can see that we have the next app server function policy. Click on that. And we can see here that we specifically have some action in here for S3, and it is attached to the resource of dev file uploads. So this entire policy statement has been written for us automatically. We didn't have to do anything. And it's already assumed that as we have a bucket, what actions we were going to want to perform on it. So get, put, that kind of thing. So you can imagine if you were defining this in CloudFormation, it would be quite a lot of effort, and a lot of the time people don't. They might just grant full access or something. But through utilizing SST and CDK this way, we're able to apply Amazon's like least permission policy. So basically every function should have the least permission available to allow it to do the actions that it needs to perform. And we're able to do that without really any additional overhead to ourselves. Actually, it's very simple. We just have to attach the bucket, and then SST is going to write the policy for us and attach it to the role and everything. So to recap in this video, what have we done? We have created this new file upload component. We have added an API to the we've added an endpoint to the Next.js API called getUploadURL, which is going to return a signed URL, which is can be used to upload a file to S3. The S3 bucket has been added to the Next.js app, and by utilizing the common utils package to define the bucket name, we're able to access the same bucket name in our API, so in our application code. This bucket name here is type safe, and it's going to be the same as when we access it from the Next.js application. So what that means is if we were to come in here and rename file uploads, for example, we call this like image uploads instead, then it's going to rename across our application. It's going to rename the bucket that gets deployed, and it's going to rename the bucket that gets used by the application code in the API as well. So this is a great way of utilizing TypeScript to make type-safe resources, which can then be referenced within different parts of your application. In the next video, we're going to look at how we can utilize some of the features of SST to make to do this a bit differently, and to use SST to define and share the bucket name rather than the common utils package.